Gary, thanks for joining us. Excited to hear more about you and your business. First of all, what is it you do and how long you been doing it?
I'm the managing partner of the company. I've been doing it for about 10 years, 11 years, but I'm one of the co-founders of the company. We started the company 31 years ago.
Okay.
As a company, we do three things. We do business consulting, custom software development, and then managed services. We're one of the longest term providers of that in our area. And we have a very much a focus on looking at not the technology itself. We say all the time that technology in and of itself has no value. Technology is a tool to help get a job done. And the example I use is a hammer pounding a nail into a board. The hammer is not the important thing. There's a nail that needs to be pounded into the board. If you understand the combination of the nail and the board, you'll never get the outcome you're expecting. And that's where technology usually goes wrong. We're very much focused on business outcomes. It's unusual.
Gotcha. Yeah. Looking at your page, I really liked your quote, "We haven't gotten where we are by ourselves." And the way you integrate people into technology is a fascinating way to look at it. And I think probably the best long-term solution, right?
Yep, that's what we think.
So when you think about success, who's the first person that comes to mind?
My dad.
Okay. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, okay. So if you're looking in terms of money, he was, not that wildly successful. But in terms of what he did for me becoming who I am today, his family, all the people around him, he left a mark on the world. And I tell our people all the time, and this came straight from what I watched observing my dad. I tell people all the time that on the day you die, the measure of your success in life isn't what you own and how much money you've earned. It's how many people did you genuinely love and how many people loved you back. And my dad succeeded wildly at that.
Awesome. Awesome. How are you trying to live into that legacy?
Not easy. Now we found out in the 90s that we couldn't have children. And at that point, we were not very involved in community and small circle of friends. And along with that, I was actually born with a single abdominal kidney. And that's part of the whole story behind that's part of why we can't have kids. And I'm left sitting there going, I'm living a life that I wasn't supposed to have. And how do I pay that back? So we're very involved in service and volunteering. We're both avid Rotarians. My wife's been on 15 polio immunization missions around the world.
Awesome.
So we really try to do that. But also, it's the attitude we take towards our employees and towards our clients and the community that we're in. I tell our staff that they're part of our family, and that's how we treat them. So
awesome.
It's about an approach to life and seeing that we're part of a bigger whole, and we need to appreciate the bigger whole.
Right. Being blessed to where we're at is not about what we get, but what we get to give, kind of thing.
Yep.
Awesome. So as you look back at the COVID time frame, what business changes were you considering in that area that you had to make? Any significant changes that you made?
Well, so obviously we had to adapt because of COVID, but really it didn't change our attitude towards anything or our people. I've said for years that I don't care physically where our people are, as long as they're taking care of their clients, they're meeting their goals, and they're working well with their coworkers. I don't care if they're on a beach in Aruba. What matters isn't as much place that you're doing it; it matters what the outcomes are. And so, literally, we went almost fully remote. I came to the office, so I was the person that got the mail and got the packages. Everybody else was working from home, and actually, in our first 2 or 3 months under COVID, our productivity was actually up. So we didn't have to change much about who we are at all. It was just adapting to circumstances.
Gotcha. So kind of looking at that in this next step, there's been a lot of talk about a recession coming. Any projected changes or adjustments, or how do you see that affecting your business?
Well, we've been in this business for 31 years, and we've been through several recessions. Generally, I hate to generalize, but the general, trend has been that during a recession, what we do becomes more critical, not less critical, because people are looking for ways to save costs. And so unless it became really, really deep and the entire economy throttled down, I think we'd be continuing on our present course with very little change.
Awesome. Sounds like a mindset for success that you really have in there's always opportunity, not challenges. They're challenges, but they're
Oh
also
yeah,
opportunities.
absolutely.
Cool. So what's your biggest learning since you've founded this business?
That my people are more important than I am.
Okay.
My job is to enable them to be successful and prosperous. And if they can achieve that, then I'll be taken care of.
Awesome. Kind of Simon Sinek's leaders eat last model. Awesome. What are your aspirations for the company in the next 5 years?
Our projection right now is we want to at least double the size of the company in the next 5 years. I think we're in a good place to be able to do that. And then as part of that, I'm 67. I'm not doing the slowing thing down 67-year-old thing very well. I bought out my business partners of 29 years, and for my 64th birthday and for my 65th birthday, we bought the building that we're in, and we're putting the company in growth mode. So, but what I'm trying to do is position things. So I'm like just turned 66. I'm trying to position things so by the time I'm 70, I can be out, and if I wanted to not work, I could do that, and the company will not even notice that I'm gone. And that's what we're working towards in terms of moving my heir apparents forward and positioning the company for that departure.
Gotcha. So within 5 years to have passive income and you're the one on that beach in Aruba. Probably not. Probably.
Well, I don't think I doubt I'm ever going to fully retire. One of the things that we did consciously, my wife and I did, is that starting about 15 or 16 years ago, we started traveling. And because we said that, what happens is people wait till they retire, and the older you get, the harder travel is.
Mhm.
And so we've been traveling and doing stuff. We know we've been spending, in essence, some of our retirement money, but it's been a good investment. And so, but I'm not the kind of person that's ever just going to go sit in a chair and not do anything. It's like I told our staff here, if we get to the point where I'm not doing everyday stuff, I'd be perfectly happy doing some of the consulting work I do because I enjoy the heck out of it. It delivers great value for our clients, and it generates tremendous revenue for the company. So if I could do that whenever I wanted to do it, that'd be awesome. If I could do more volunteer work, those things are all things that keep my cup full and make a difference in the world and pay back that promise about making sure I live a life well lived and get that back.
Awesome. What are your thoughts on the current employment situation in Omaha?
Tough. So if you're looking for software developers, it's murder.
Mhm.
The unemployment rate is pretty low, and so the challenge that creates is it becomes a race for salaries, and really in the long run, nobody wins that. Even not the employees that are getting paid it, because they're moving from job to job, stability, and they're being bought for money.
Right.
And so, our perspective is we create an environment that's a good long-term place to be that respects people. And, we're not going to be quite as competitive as some places maybe on salary, but we provide a much richer environment to work within. That's like with network engineers in our company. Network engineers quite frequently in our business are expected to work 50 or 60 hours a week. And I tell everybody as a new hire that what I want is 40 productive hours. If you have to work more to get something done, that's fine. But I want people to plan on working 40 productive hours. So we want people to accomplish more in 40 hours that's well planned and structured than people that spend to 60 or 70 hours working that don't have their time managed well.
Right.
So it is a challenging environment to find good people, and really that we're not just looking for people with skills. We're looking for a match to our culture as well. And
Right. Talking about you're working with people on their time management skills. Can I ask what you provide for them in order to help them with that?
mentoring, and then the environment is set up to try and make sure that well, for one thing, so like in terms of project planning, project management, if you're a network engineer or developer, the departments are trying to structure themselves and manage themselves in such a way that we're looking at those workloads, helping people manage their time effectively. For those people that need more help, we're doing individual mentoring. And our environment is focused on really helping people be the best they can be. I'll give you a couple of examples. This isn't necessarily time management, but it speaks to how we treat our people.
Mm-hmm.
We hired a new help desk person, it'll be 3 years ago in July. And he had a young daughter and a wife and a baby on the way, a new daughter on the way. And basically, we offered him the job, and he talked to his present employer, and his present employer fired him on the spot. And he came back to my director of networking and said, "Hey, I've been laid off. I'll let you know." And the director of networking came to me, and I told him to tell Jesse this. I said, "You're on the clock with us effective today. However, if you show up at the office between now and 2 weeks from now, which was your start date, I will fire you for cause, because your number one job for the next 2 weeks is to be the best husband to your wife you can be and the best father to your new daughter that you can be. And that's all I want you doing. Don't tell me I'm not going to count this against your vacation time. You got a paycheck coming in. You're making more money than you were before. Embrace your family." And we've done all sorts of things like that over the years. And so our turnover rate normally is about 2%, between 2 and 5. And the industry average is between 20 and 25. So the difference between that, our partners always thought, before I bought them out, they always thought we did these things because they reflected our value systems and treat people the way they should be treated. But that's true. We did those things for that reason. But the difference between 2 to 5% turnover and 20 to 25% turnover is about $175,000 to our bottom line every year. And so, yes, it is the right thing to do. And we believe in this. We believe in treating people well. But it's not just a thing we're making an investment in the right way of doing things. We're also making an investment in the business when we do that.
Mm-hmm.
The financial and a moral win on both sides. And so, that reflects how we look at our people. And so, how they manage their times, how they manage themselves is important to us. We say that, who you are at work affects who you are at home and vice versa. So if we don't look at the whole person and make sure you're doing as good as you can, we'll never get the results we need, and you'll never be happy.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. And it's critical to care for them as people, not as employees. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really understand. When I talk with other businesses. Go ahead.
I'm amazed that, the businesses that they cut corners on salary, they cut corners on benefits. And when you really look at it overall, those are small costs compared to the yield for treating people well. Because retention is money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And happy retained employees is double the money in the bank. And so, companies that I'm gonna cut salaries, I'm gonna cut benefits. Yes, those things are expensive, and yes, they seem like they don't gain anything from purely a financial perspective. But if you're looking at it for the long-term benefit of the business, that's absolutely critical. One of the problems I think happens in our world today is, really in publicly held businesses, the idea of shareholder equity took root back in the 80s. And so watch the companies now that like in the weeks before their next quarterly report, they lay off 5,000 people because they've got to make expectations from the analysts. That's a short-term financial decision. It's not a long-term business health decision. And so I think our whole business culture is looking in the short term and not thinking about where we need to be 5 years, 10 years, 25, 50 years from now. In Japan, for example, businesses tend to think in 25, 50-year increments. Mm-hmm. When they're looking at planning and direction, when they make strategic decisions. And a year is not long enough. 6 months is certainly not long enough. Next week is ridiculous. And we got way too many businesses that are living in those kinds of time frames.
Have you read Simon Sinek's Infinite Game?
I know I've seen a couple of videos of him talking about it, but I haven't read the book.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're talking about. Prioritizing short-term gains sacrifices your long-term future. And it's that saving pennies cost you dollars mindset.
Well, I believe that entirely. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. It sounds like you got some good stuff going. What does the future look like, and what do you see as the main challenges moving towards it?
I think the future looks pretty good. We've been working really hard, so basically, so we started in 1992, and we kind of grew in spite of ourselves. We were a pretty conservative business. My two former partners were very conservative, and I love them to death. And we got to a point about 6 or 7 years ago, and it's like we can keep doing what we're doing, which is in essence giving ourselves a fairly low-paying job, or we can build equity for ourselves and for our people and for our clients. You guys choose.
Mhm.
At that point, I didn't say that they didn't choose to go that direction. I was probably going to be gone, and we chose to go down the path of growing. Um, and really, some of the hardest stuff we've done in 31 years has been really putting a growth-oriented culture in place and getting those things done. I think we're really at the point where we've got all that stuff built out and ready now. And I think that we're ready to get the rocket off the launch pad. So, unless the economy again goes really, really south, very, very deep recession, bordering on depression kind of stuff, I think that things look pretty good over the next few years for us.
Awesome. So a lot of the people that I deal with and that view these videos are younger. What advice would you have for your 18-year-old self?
Probably two or three things. When you're 18 years old, tomorrow seems like a long time away. The thing, the older you get, the faster time goes, and it's all about a relativity. When you're 5 years old, a day is a long chunk of your life, and when you're 65, not so much. And so, I'd probably say three things. I'd say one, remember that life's a marathon, not a sprint. You're building for, not for tomorrow, you're building for 10 years, 20 years from now. And to be focused going on that path. But then, ask yourself, what is it that I is going to fill my cup? When you're making choices, think about what's going to fulfill me, because it isn't just money. I know people that have made a lot of money who are incredibly unhappy. What you want to ideally find is a place where you make money and you're doing something you love. And I can't put enough emphasis on that, doing something that you love. And then that ties into the other thing, and that's a mistake that I made early on. My dad worked with Boeing Aircraft Company, and when I was 5, we started moving. In the time that I was 5, the time I was 14, we moved 14 times all across country. And so by the time we got to Omaha when I was in 8th grade, I was ready to retire. I'd been working my butt off and done really well in school, and so I was looking for somebody to make me happy, and nobody else but you will ever make you happy. So make the choices that make you happy, and have such a responsibility to, you got to be able to have enough money on the table to be able to do things you want to be able to do and to your objectives, but focus on things that fill your cup. Right. Because in the long run, it's like I said earlier to my employees, the real measure of your success in life on the day you die isn't how much money you made. It isn't the accomplishments you did. It's the people that you love and the people that love you back. It's the only thing that really matters in the long run. And the older you get, the more you find out that's true.
Yeah, so Coach Linda, the founder of our company, is currently writing a book with the idea of don't leave a legacy, live a legacy. It's not about how much money you accumulate and drop off when you die. It's and in fact, she's a huge fan of acronyms. So legacy to her stands for let every gift abundantly create yours. And so the idea being build as you go, and don't wait to die to do good things. Do them as you live.
I'm a firm believer in the Margaret Mead saying, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world, for indeed it's the only thing that ever has. And actually, I made that part of the framework of my year when I was district governor of Rotary. And my saying was the power of one. And what I believe is that everything in this world that matters came from the mind and the heart of one person. All they had to do was use the power of their own choice to do something about that idea. And I really think the power to change the world lives in every one of us. We just have to have the courage to believe in our ideas and to fight for them.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'd say the moment my life shifted is when I accepted that and decided that it's time to start doing and stop watching. To take that choice right there.
Yeah, I
So
did a keynote speech for my Rotary Club's honor roll event about 5 or 6 years ago, and I was speaking to a group of about 400 eighth graders and about 1,100 adults, and my speech was entirely about the power of choice.
hmm,
And I used my life, my good choices and my bad choices to kind of illustrate that video that they did. And basically, what I started off talking about is, when I think about what heroes are, and I asked the audience, who do you think heroes are? And I kind of a metaphorical question. And it's like, people, firemen running into a fire, and soldiers and police officers and stuff like that. I says, but here's the question. Is their heroism the act of running into the fire? Or is the act of heroism making the conscious choice to run into the fire? And I said, that's where all of us have the potential to be heroes.
mm-hmm.
It's just about the power of our choices.
Yeah. Bravery isn't standing against evil.
Yeah. To not making a choice to just not make a choice. Make the choice that takes action and, stand up behind it.
Yeah. Passiveness is the enemy of success.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as a last question, any offers you want to include in the newsletter or the social media posts that go along with this?
Yeah, we would do a free network and security assessment for any business that would like to have their network checked out. One of the challenges today is cybercrime. Between about 3.5 years ago and the beginning of the Ukrainian war, went up about 200 or 300% during COVID, and then it doubled again after the Ukrainian war started. And an interesting statistic is that 47% of all small businesses in the United States experienced some kind of cyber event last year. They may have known it or not, but they did. And the interesting statistics go along with that is that 50% of those same small businesses don't think that they're a target, and 70% of them have no idea what to do when something happens. And I'll tell you, and the experts in the industry will tell you this. I've got a friend that's the director of the Arizona Cybersecurity Range. He's a well-known white hat hacker, and he says it's not a question of when you're going to be hacked. If you're going to be hacked, it's a question of when you're going to be hacked. And so we really try to get a lot of our clients and businesses to think about the value of the data that's in their systems, because a lot of businesses don't do that. They don't think about how much value for their business and what they do is in their computers to make sure they're properly protected. So we would do a free assessment to help them understand that.
Awesome. How do you want them to reach out to you?
They can reach out to you, either our company, the main number, and ask for me, or they can send an email to me. My email address is bren@theturnerway.com.
Awesome. Well, I think that concludes our interview today. Thank you for hopping on, and excited to see what the network or what the industry has in store for your business.
So are we. Thank you.